Thank you for joining us on ABC24 Plus. I am ABC24 anchor Pepper Baker. We have a big guest in the studio today. She is the first female U.S. Senator of Tennessee, and she's running for governor. If she wins, she will be the first woman to do that as well. And lots of extensive political experience leading up to today, and she's decided to step into our studio to talk about her campaign for governor. So thank you so much, Senator Marsha Blackburn, for joining us today.
Delighted to join you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So you've been a state senator, you've been a congresswoman, and you are now a sitting U.S. senator, the first one I've ever interviewed. So thank you for the opportunity. Why are you running for governor?
I'm running for governor in order to make the lives of Tennesseans better. This is something that I have focused on my entire career. I get up every morning and say, what can I do today that is going to improve the lives of Tennesseans and indeed all Americans? And you know, when I when I led the state income tax battle and we defeated that state income tax, we did a reset. And now we have the opportunity to do another reset. After the state income tax battle, Tennessee really became a powerhouse. We got our act together. And now President Trump is sending power and authority back to the states, whether it is education or health care or nuclear power generation or permitting or regulation. Things are coming back to the states. Our state at this point does not need a manager. What we need is a leader who can build out a vision, build out a plan, implement that plan, put the team together and get the job done and make certain that our state goes through this reset, takes that power back from the federal government and does good things for the people of Tennessee.
Okay, that was a strong start there, and hopefully we'll unpack all of that
Sure.
with specifics. So let's talk about the issues that you are running on that will directly impact or improve the lives of West Tennesseans.
Yes, and there are three things we hear repeatedly. One is we want good jobs and better wages, and a growing economy. Affordability and the cost of living is a problem for everybody, and people want to see better jobs. They want us to be working with homegrown businesses, retaining jobs, recruiting jobs, and making certain that we've got a good, solid infrastructure when it comes to our economy. The second thing we hear about is public safety. And indeed, that is an effort that I've worked on extensively here in West Tennessee and specifically in Memphis. And public safety, making certain that communities are safe, making certain children are safe in school, making certain that children are safe in the virtual and the physical space. And the third thing that we hear so much about is education and wanting to make certain there is educational opportunity for every single child so that every child has the ability to dream those big dreams and then knows there's a pathway here in Tennessee for those dreams to come true.
And we are seeing direct impacts of every single one of those facets right here in Shelby County. But yeah, you had a big hand in the Memphis Safe Task Force.
Right.
That was one of the topics I was going to talk to you about. But before we kind of zoom into Shelby County, I did want to talk about the Starbucks deal.
Sure.
You know, to help our viewers understand the movement of Starbucks headquarters to Nashville, what that will mean and how this area can reap any of those benefits.
Yeah, Pepper, I say Starbucks got religion because they realized they could not be profitable for their shareholders by staying in Washington State. And so when you look at the taxation, the amount of regulation, all of the DEI and ESG requirements that were there, they said we have to be profitable as an employer. We have to be profitable for shareholders and people that have invested, pension funds that have invested. And in order to retain that profitability, we need to move to a business-friendly state. So Tennessee is the state that they chose. My understanding is it was a $30 billion deal, and or $30 million, excuse me, and that money will be recouped in payroll taxes in 6 months. So basically, they've got a $250 million annual payroll, 2,000 jobs, the opportunity for more growth in our state, and that within 6 months, the state will have recouped every penny. And of course, if something were not to go as planned, the state has what is called clawback provisions to make certain that the taxpayer is always going to be benefiting and is not going to be footing a bill for a corporation. So that is my understanding of it. Governor Lee looked at this. He certainly made the decision to move forward with this. And when you see companies in one of our state's grand divisions choose to move there, then you're going to see that ripple effect. We are a well-governed, well-led state. Governor Lee, Governor Haslam, they've done great work, and people want to come to a state that has low taxes, that has a great workforce, which Tennesseans know how to work hard.
Sure do.
And they want to come to a state that's a right-to-work state. That's us. And I think we're the best at that. And so there are more companies that are going to choose us. Look at XAI. They chose to come here. You look at other companies that are looking at Memphis. As I've talked to some of the community leaders and business leaders here in Memphis, this is a very exciting time for West Tennessee. When you look at what is happening with battery production in this part of the state. You look at the innovation and the work that XAI is doing. You look at the growth around the cavitation project that University of Memphis is doing out at the port. And it is exciting to know that suppliers are looking at coming into Tennessee, that you've got other providers of services and equipment for logistics companies that are coming into Shelby County, Memphis, West Tennessee. Those are growth signs. We like that.
Definitely. Economic development seems to be improving here ever since I got here, maybe just about 4 years ago. And one of the biggest arguments right when I came here was that West Tennessee doesn't get enough funding. So will there be an opportunity, or will you be prioritizing when these big corporations move to Tennessee, that some of that revenue that the state makes will make its way over here?
We certainly are hopeful that we are going to see the right kind of growth here, and I think that's important. Yesterday I met with a group of leaders, and one of the leaders said, Marsha, our goal in working with you as our governor should be, let's stabilize the population in Memphis and grow it. That should be our goal. And his point that he was making was that you had seen Memphis and Shelby County lose population and over the last couple of governors, and now they want to say, all right, we're done with that. We're on the growth tangent and we are moving forward. And it is a very exciting time to be here. I think Memphis is, they're on the right track.
Okay. Representative John Rose, which is one of your competitors on the Republican side running for governor, is kind of coming at you about anti-DEI policies, or how inclusive Starbucks is and not exactly aligning with Tennessee values. It's a private company, but will you be putting pressure on Starbucks to adopt anti-DEI policies? You
know, I think that, like I said earlier, Starbucks got religion. And we see a lot of companies that are coming into the state, whether it's the west, the middle, or the east part of the state. What they're looking for is that business-friendly, family-friendly environment. They want to be in an environment where they can grow, where they can be good employers, where they're going to be able to provide better benefits, where their shareholders and pension funds that invest in those companies are going to say, that is a great company. And this is, it's important to realize government doesn't create jobs. It's the private sector that creates those jobs. And what you want to do is make certain that government's creating the environment where that jobs growth can take place. And in Tennessee, we've got the right environment. And you're going to see more companies that are going to want to come into Tennessee because we are the right environment for business growth. And we're the best place to live, to work, to rear your family. And we need to add one more part of that. We need to be the best place for jobs of the future, where your children and grandchildren can come back home and know that in Tennessee, they can live out their version of the American dream.
Okay, and speaking of families, moving into kind of the education realm here, private school vouchers. And, the commercial appeal here had reported that the expanded second kind of allotment of these vouchers were largely benefiting households that were making a cap or an income cap of about $178,000 a year. And that group, that tier, there was a lot more allotted to that than the lower income tiers. So I know in another interview you did, you were in support of charter schools or just giving more options.
Yes, indeed. And we've got some great charter schools here in Tennessee. And you have a Shelby County that leads that charter school board and does a great job of that. And it's important to remember these are public schools, and they're kind of innovation centers when it comes to that space. What we want to make certain is, number one, that every child is in the right environment so that they can learn. My husband and I have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. They, each one, learn differently. And what you want is to be able to get that child in an environment where they can learn. Now, parents don't need to have to win the lottery to do that. And that's what the Education Freedom Scholarships allows, is for parents to be able to move their child into an environment where that child can learn. We want children to be able, when they graduate high school, they should know what their gifting is, what they're good at. And you should have children that are able to say, I want to go to a TCAT, or I want to go to a community college, or I want to go to a 4-year college, or maybe they want to go take a nurse's tech program, and at some point maybe they end up in med school. Or maybe they want to go take a welding class or an electrician's class, and they end up being an engineer. It should be our job, our responsibility to open those doors of opportunity. And the Education Freedom Scholarships do that. And then you look at schools like, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to visit Pure Academy.
I have.
Okay, great. I am a big fan.
I know you stopped by there.
Yes.
Maybe months ago.
Right. I've been at their old location and their new location. Okay. And you look at how allowing flexibility and allowing innovation is opening doors of opportunity for young men, and many other charter schools are doing the exact same thing.
Will you, with the expansion of the vouchers though, will you as governor, work to make sure, or do you plan to expand it to where it does allow lower income students to be involved?
What we want is for the expansion of the Freedom Scholarships. This is expanding choice, and that should be there for every child. Like I said, you don't want parents having to win the lottery to have a say in their child's education.
What are your thoughts on the new State Oversight Board?
The State Oversight Board is something that I think is going to help us make certain that we consider the child first and make certain that child is in the right learning environment. And as the governor and the legislature and Mark White, who is chairman of education for the State House, as they have looked at this issue and evaluating how to make certain that we create that right learning environment, they've decided to have the board that is going to work with Shelby County and Memphis and work through the issues with the school system to make certain that the child is at the center of this. Let's make certain children are in a safe learning environment.
Does it at all infringe on the voters' right to elect that elected board to do what they, put them in those seats to do? So I guess the question, like the State Oversight Board being appointed, and now the elected board has to answer to them to get really anything approved. Does that infringe on the voters' rights to elect people to be able to carry out those duties?
What I have heard from so many Shelby Countyans and Memphians, they want to make certain that the school system is going to be accountable to the taxpayers. They want, first of all, that it is going to be there to provide the education that the children need, that the children are reaching those attainment levels that they're expecting them to hit each and every year.
Okay. I'm getting a signal from your team, so I know we don't have a lot of time. I'll ask for 5 more minutes if we can.
Sure.
There's a few decisions you've made that have directly affected this area. And first off was congressional redistricting. Shortly after the Supreme Court made the decision, you took to social media almost immediately to call for a special session or to encourage the governor to do so. How do you convince voters here who protested about it that that was not about race?
It was about making certain that every Tennessean feels that they are represented. When I was first elected to the U.S. House, Shelby County had 3 members of the U.S. House. I was one of those. And that gave me the opportunity to work with Shelby County citizens, elected officials, and address their needs. So Shelby County returning to having 3 members of the U.S. House, people that are looking after Shelby County needs, I think that's a plus.
Okay, the second thing here is the Memphis Safe Task Force.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about the progress, but recently
Yes.
on Sunday we did have an unfortunate situation with guardsmen shooting and killing a 20-year-old man who was allegedly armed. Just a timeline on what the progress has been, and if you have any indication of whether or not you plan to relinquish the control back to the local authorities.
Yes, and on the shooting that occurred, I understand the TBI is investigating that, and they'll have more to say about that once the investigation is there. On the task force, yes, tremendous success. 11,000 arrests, 157 children that have been found, thousands of guns off the streets. You've got automobiles that have been recovered, and you've got prosecutions that are taking place. Mike Donovan, U.S. Attorney, has done a tremendous job there. Tyrese Miller, who is the U.S. Marshal, has been really quite amazing. Chief Davis is so outstanding, and so is Mayor Young. And Memphis is really the model for if you want to get crime under control, and the crime rate's cut about 50%. And I talked to a Memphian yesterday who saw me out, came up, gave me a big hug, and she said, we had July 4th in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And she said, we heard fireworks, not gunshots. Mm-hmm. And how exciting for Memphians that communities are safer. And people are trusting. They're trusting the mayor, they're trusting the chief, because their community is safer. And that is a very good thing. So seeing this continue, we know that Chief Davis is able to recruit and to hold the training for newly recruited officers. They just had a great big group, I think about 80, that were able to start hitting the beat, if you will. And then they've got about 160 that are currently in training. So the chief is a good, solid leader, and she is going to build out this force so that they're no longer short hundreds of officers. And I think there are great days ahead for what Memphis is going to do in public safety. When we started this, State Senator Brent Taylor and I had talked about, and I talked with Kash Patel about this. We want to make Memphis the safest city in the United States. And people are looking at Memphis and the partnership, the local, state, and federal partnership that is here, and saying, Memphis did this right. And the credit goes to Memphians that have jumped in and have said, we can do this. And we can get crime under control. And you know what? They have. And now everybody around the country is saying, how did you do it?
Okay, and I know you have to run, your time is very precious. I would be remiss if we didn't squeeze in data centers.
Sure.
The Memphis Flyer wrote an article today that contrasted the way you approached Elon Musk's supercomputer XAI here in Southwest Memphis to now what's happening in Nashville with the proposed data center next to the Nashville Zoo. What do you have to say to constituents, especially in the Boxtown area, a predominantly black and brown neighborhood, who feel that they did not get the same consideration when Elon Musk decided on that location, when they voiced their concerns about environmental
Yes,
problems?
and data centers and decisions there, those are going to be local decisions as to areas that want them, areas that want to see that employment and that growth, and that has been a great project. The Nashville Zoo, the project that was there was backing up against a sensitive area of the zoo, and I know that they're going to work that out locally. We've got a lot of communities in Tennessee that are saying, hey, we've got industrial parks, we've got industrial areas, the zoning is there, we've got power, we've got water, and we would love to have these because they're great employment for skilled labor, and they want to see that employment growth.
Okay, we didn't get to touch on the death penalty. We had a Tony Carruthers case here. Do you just plan to at all acknowledge the appeals that are happening about getting further DNA testing, or will you plan to move forward with his new execution date that will fall under your leadership?
Pepper, I think when it comes to the death penalty, there are a couple of things. Number one, I will say this, I've done so much work protecting children, and in the virtual and the physical space, and people that molest and rape our babies, they should be considered for the death penalty. When it comes to enforcing the death penalty for violent criminals that receive the death penalty, and then they go through all of their appeals and options, and they've exhausted those appeals, then it is important to flip the switch and allow the victims' families to finally get closure.
Last two questions, I promise. I'm sorry, I know you guys have to run. And there's so many I didn't even get to be honest.
Well, Pepper, I'll come back.
Well, please, I would love to honor that.
Yeah.
You have a really close relationship with President Donald Trump.
Sure.
But he did, on his visit to Memphis, talk on Air Force One about not endorsing in the governor's race. Did you anticipate that, or how are you kind of feeling? But I know you guys are still pretty tight.
We are, and I talk with the president a lot. He keeps track of what's going on. Bear in mind, I've known him since 2008 and have worked with him quite a bit, and I'm working with him right now on guardrails for artificial intelligence for the country. And we stay in contact, and everyone wants to have President Trump's support, but those votes are tight in the House, and my vote isn't dependent on if there's an endorsement or not in the House. We're running our race, and we are working with Tennesseans every single day. We're knocking doors, we're making phone calls, we're visiting with reporters, we are holding meetings, and had a huge group last night out in Millington, and just loved every minute of it.
Okay, so no hard feelings between you and President
No,
Donald Trump.
goodness heavens, no.
Okay, good.
Goodness heavens, no.
Last thing here, will we expect a debate between you and your Republican opponents, or your Democratic opponent after the primary?
You know, the Republicans that are in the race, we have done lots of forums from one end of the state to the other. And we've been on the stage together quite a bit. And I think people know what each of us would do as governor. And I've been very upfront about what I'm going to do as governor, and always appreciate those opportunities. And I think now it's time to come together and to focus on November and make certain that we're victorious in November and we have the opportunity to serve and do good things for the people of Tennessee.
Okay, anything else that you just want Memphians, Shelby Countyans, West Tennesseans to know about why they deserve your vote?
Yes, I would love to have their vote, and working hard to be sure we earn that vote. It's a precious thing that every citizen has, and making certain that everyone remembers to vote. Early vote starts July 17th, and the election day is August 6th. And they can keep up with me at marshablackburn.com. Love to have them come join us as we are doing meetings and knocking on doors and making those phone calls. We're having a great time.
Okay, and I'm going to take you up on that offer about coming back, because we have a lot to cover with you
yes,
always.
Yes, we do.
But thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy woman, so we'll get you out of the studio. But thank you for watching 24 Plus. Primaries are August, and then the general is in November. So be sure to follow all things ABC24 for political coverage. Thank you, Senator Blackburn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for watching.